this story just keeps getting more bizarre. Melania Trump went from being completely absent from the public eye to doing one interview after another and posting one video after another that keeps making the character of Melania Trump a more confusing one. And to think about what's on the line for her husband, okay? The decisions she's making don't make sense given the timeline, but I'm happy she's making them because they're not good for her husband. One of them being she comes out in this memoir that she just had to release right before the election, Melania, and expresses that she could not have a more pro-choice stance on reproductive rights. She's a full-on reproductive freedom advocate, at least in her personal stance, which again is enraging given who she supports in this election, which is her husband, at least on paper, and she should be called out for that. But it has caused a headache for Trump because some within MAGA are really upset with her for having what I identify as the correct stance, but that is contradictory to that of her husband's. Before showing you the latest example of this, where she doubles, triples down on this view, we first heard of it in the Guardian reporting about an excerpt from her memoir, and it went like this. It's imperative to guarantee that women have autonomy in deciding their preference of having children based on their own convictions, free from any intervention or pressure from the government. Any intervention. And then she posted that video that we talked about, and now she's in the interview with Maria Bartiromo on Sunday Morning Futures on Fox News saying this.
Write about abortion in the book. You write that you are staunchly for a woman's right to choose. You are pro-choice. You write, it is imperative to guarantee that women have autonomy in deciding their preference in having children based on their own convictions, free from intervention or pressure from government. Had you spoken to President Trump about that before you wrote that in the book?
Yes, he knew my position and my beliefs since the day we met. And I believe in individual freedom. I want to decide what I want to do with my body. I think I don't want government.
By the way, trying to remember, as I told you before, until we get to 1 million subscribers, to remind you to click the subscribe button if you haven't already. Thank you very much.
In my personal business. I think it's very important. And as I said in the book, and it's very well explained in the chapter, what does really my body, my choice means? Because timing really matters, and also the restrictions.
And I'll play more of this, but what she's saying is correct. What she has done in the last few years does not align with this. Given the impact that her husband has had on this issue negatively in the overturning of Roe v. Wade because of the justices he got on the Supreme Court, overtly promising he'd do just that. And she is doing interviews saying, I stand by him. I want him to win this election. He's going to make America great again. A lot of people have pointed out, and I think this is a perfect analysis, while it's fascinating and pretty embarrassing for Trump that she's out here saying this, she has the privilege of knowing that she can exercise rights with her wealth, with her resources, that now millions of women in the United States can't. And so while she thinks, I don't know what she thinks, she's being principled or something by explaining this, she's actually showing that she's willing to see past this issue and so many others just because I guess she wants to be loyal to her husband, when for other people it's matters of life and death.
So I encourage people to read it, because we live in the world that everybody should have individual freedom.
It was interesting that you wrote this in the book right before a presidential election.
Yeah.
Well, that was not written in the last week or the last month.
These are your convictions.
Correct, but that book was written months before, and it was in a print months before. So that was my belief, and it is my belief, and I wanted to put it in the book because I want to be authentic. I want people to read the book because they could find out a lot of things that were never discussed. I'm very selective what I do, and when I'm doing interviews or not, or where I am or not. And this is my
This is like a riddle.
story. This is my perspective and the truth. And there is a lot of misinformation about me and falsehoods written about me. So that book, Melania, it will bring my truth and the truth.
How do you think the Republicans and
And then we'll play a little bit more in a second here. But you can't ignore the political fallout of this. I even just, as a total anecdote, was trying to find clips for it. And some account that had posted this clip, I looked below in the comments and you had all these MAGA people saying essentially shame on her. And it's so wild that this is just now coming out. And then you have to, like I said, acknowledge this is a crazy thing for her to do to her husband right before an election. And it plays into the argument that she doesn't actually support him. She says she does in these interviews. She says she's going to make America great again and everything was better when he was president. It doesn't seem like that's the truth. So that's a part of it. But then she says that there is a lot of misinformation about me. And I thought when she first did an interview, and the whole interview, she was so positive about her husband, that what she meant was this book is the Trump campaign requesting of her clarification that she doesn't hate her husband, right? Oh, I really actually love him. And that's what I thought the memoir was about. This excerpt feels like, wait, is she saying the misinformation about her is that she is supportive of all these things? Because I guess it's true when she met Donald. Donald also was pro-choice because he was a Democrat back then. I don't know if this was, I'm pretty sure, yeah. And then it was years later that he did his transition to eventually run in the Republican Party. But it's a stunning revelation that's not stunning at all, right? It's stunning this is happening, not stunning at all that she believes something that's directly contradictory to that of her husband, because we see their lack of chemistry, of what you'd perceive to be authentic love playing out when they're rarely in the room together. But again, we cannot allow this to make us go, oh no, that's such a bummer that she's stuck in the situation where she has to say things she doesn't believe. She doesn't have to do this. She's choosing with her current status, wealth, connections, resources, etc. She's perfectly capable of doing whatever she'd like to on this. And she's choosing to publicly support him, even if she's stabbing him in the back with this stuff.
President Trump have handled this issue?
He knew my beliefs, as I said, so he knew it will be in the book. He let me be who I am, and he let me believe what I believe. He let me be my own person, and he respects that, and I respect that as I let him be his own person. He has different beliefs, and he will do what he believes. He will be, if he will be elected official.
And you're not worried about people saying, I can't vote for this ticket because of this issue?
I don't worry. Everybody needs to decide what they want to.
I will say, as consequential as I do believe this to be, in a political sense, it's crazy. You don't see this often. A spouse of a presidential candidate coming out and directly violating, contradicting, opposing the stance of their significant other. So that's a big deal. But I don't know logically why you would choose not to vote for someone because of their spouse's stance on something. That feels a little bizarre. So I don't know how that would actually impact someone's voting. But this might be the straw that broke the camel's back for your more hardcore pro-lifers who have seen Trump waver, and then he freaks out and he'll say this and that and this and that. And while he's been one of the most singularly destructive people for reproductive rights, as we talk so much about, to people on the right, some of them feel like he hasn't done enough or his stance isn't hardline enough. And for them, maybe this pushes them over the edge because they think, see, I know what he really believes because he probably agrees with her. Maybe so. And all of it can't be good for the Trump campaign, even though I'm glad it's coming out, and still think we should judge her for not being willing to fully speak out and denounce that position, even if she's speaking her truth as she's saying. Meaning denouncing her husband's position. But then here you have Trump, as I showed you before, reacting to her saying this.
What's your reaction to Melania's memoir about championing abortion rights and reproductive freedom? When you read it, what were your thoughts?
We spoke about it, and I said, you have to write what you believe. I'm not going to tell you what to do. You have to write what you believe. She's very beloved. People love our former First Lady, I can tell you.
Look at that makeup. Oh no. Oh no. Donald. Yikes.
You that. But I said, you have to stick with your heart. I've said that to everybody. You have to go with your heart. There are some people that are very, very far right on the issue, meaning without exceptions. And then there are other people that view it a little bit differently than that.
Kamala.
This is wild. I think American politics is so crazy that this might get less attention than it would in a different political scenario. But this is her sabotaging Trump. Right before an election, you couldn't wait 30-something days and then release it right after November 5th. But right before the election, you're releasing a book, and in the book, one of the most notable and destructive things that Trump is known for, is responsible for, you're going to call him out essentially on. That's pretty wild. Let me know in the comments why you think she's doing this. Is this her secret ploy to prevent Trump from becoming president so she doesn't have to deal with that again? Then support the show, get the bonus show by clicking the join button below.